Good morning, it's Monday the 15th of August and we're back after our brief summer sojourn to once again bring you our roundup of this week's key economic highlights here from Atlantic Capital Markets. As always, we'll start with a quick rundown of the key economic numbers being issued this week and we'll then dive into some of the more important stories afterwards with our own thoughts and analysis. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So, the economic numbers being issued this week start today in China with the release of their latest retail sales figures. Tuesday brings us the release of the minutes from the last meeting of the RBA and an update on UK unemployment. Wednesday also sees the release of the Fed's latest minutes, and we'll talk about those in a moment, and we'll also be giving our thoughts on the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's rate decision, also due on Wednesday, together with the latest CPI inflation figures here in the UK. Finally on Wednesday sees the release of the latest retail sales figures in the US. On Thursday, it's Australia's turn to release their employment report, and it's both the UK and Canada's turn to release retail sales figures, and we'll give our thoughts on our domestic figures towards the end of today's video. And the companies that we'll hear trading updates from this week are as follows. On Monday, we'll hear from BHP and Tencent Music. On Tuesday, US retailing giant Walmart are due to release their Q2s. We'll give our thoughts on this afterwards. Also on Tuesday, Home Depot. Wednesday sees UK house builder Persim release half-year results, which we'll discuss in more detail shortly. Q2s are also released from Chinese corporate giant Tencent, and again we'll give our thoughts on this afterwards. Also on Wednesday is the turn of Hochschild, Balfour Beatty, Cisco, Target and Lowe's. On Thursday, it's the turn of Estee Lauder, Coles and Rank Group. And finally on Friday, Deere & Co and Foot Locker. Well, inflation is the key focus this week, with UK CPI expected to rise to 13% in the coming months. The big question is, will inflation hit double digits in July? UK retail sales and employment figures will also be under the spotlight, giving further insight into the health of the economy as the cost of living crisis deepens. Over in the US, the minutes from the latest Fed meeting are likely to guide the market, in addition to earnings from retailers such as Walmart and Target. So let's take a look at all these key stories in detail. On Tuesday, Walmart are due to report Q2 earnings. Well, the retailer is the largest employer in the US and is considered a bit of a bellwether, so these figures will be watched very closely. Walmart issued a profit warning last month indicating that profits could fall by as much as 13% in 2022, a move which sent the share prices tumbling and hit stocks across the sector. There is less room for a surprise with the fall in profits already priced in. Revenue expected to rise 7.5% from the same period last year, but operating income is expected to be down around 13% as customers look towards lower margin items. It's interest rate decision day over in New Zealand on Wednesday. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand is expected to hike rates for a 7th straight meeting after becoming the first major central bank to take the official cash rate, the OCR, as high as 3% in this hiking cycle. The central bank forecast in May that rates would peak at 4% by September, meaning there are just 100 basis points of hikes remaining, with 50 basis points expected in August. As the central bank moves towards its estimated terminal rate, will it signal a slower pace of hikes? Or, given falling commodity prices and slowing growth, could the bank even forecast a slightly lower terminal rate? This could of course hurt demand for the Kiwi and knock the New Zealand dollar lower after a solid rebound versus the US dollar. Wednesday also sees the release of CPIs here in the UK. While UK inflation rose to 9.4% year on year in June, that's up from 9.1% in May, a new 40-year high. While core inflation ticked lower to 5.8%, that's down from 5.9%, the rise in PPI to 16.5% suggests that prices are likely to continue rising. The Bank of England has hiked interest rates at each meeting since December, raising rates by an outsized 50 basis points in July to 1.75%. Another hot inflation reading could prompt policymakers to hike by a further 50 points in September. The bank has said that inflation is likely to rise as high as 13% in the coming months. With this in mind, the UK is unlikely to see a fall in inflation. So do keep an eye this week on the pound and the FTSE. UK house builder Persim are due to release their half-year results on Wednesday. Now, we already know that Persim built fewer houses and took a lower revenue in H1 compared to the same period last year. However, its forward order book has grown and gross margins are growing as rising house prices more than offset the rise in costs. The number of homes being built has been limited by labour shortages and planning delays, topics which will of course be in focus as Persim releases its figures. The company confirmed that sales were 1% higher early in Q3, growing optimism that demand remains robust even as the cost of living crisis deepens. Persim is expected to complete on between 14,500 and 15,000 properties, and that's up from 14,551 in 2021. The stock trades 40% lower year to date compared to the FTSE's 0.5% decline. So the minutes to the latest Fed meeting are due to be released also on Wednesday, and date from the July meeting where the Fed hiked rates by a supersized 75 basis points, taking the benchmark policy rate to 2.25% to 2.5%. At the press conference following the rate decision, Fed Chair Powell said that the US economy wasn't in recession and also hinted that the central bank could start to slow the pace of hiking. However, since then, several policymakers have pushed back against the idea of the Fed turning more dovish, instead insisting that the US central bank still has plenty of work to do. The minutes could shed more light on whether the Fed is still keen on front-loading hikes and once again boost the odds of a 75 basis point rate hike, which had fallen to under 40% last week. And finally, on this busy Wednesday, Chinese giant Tencent reported its Q2s and is the main focus from Asia this week. Expectations are for revenue to drop 1.9% to 135.6 billion RMB, which would mark the first fall on record after sales were flat in Q1. Meanwhile, adjusted diluted EPS expected to fall for a third straight quarter to 2.56 RMB. Disruptions from COVID-19 and a deteriorating macroeconomic picture, combined with regulatory crackdowns on the tech sector, have weighed on Tencent this year. Many of its businesses have come under real pressure. While Chinese authorities have pledged more support for the Chinese economy, these measures will take time, of course, to filter through to the economy. With this in mind, the outlook will be key. And to wrap up the week on Friday, the UK is due to release its latest retail sales figures. UK retail sales fell a smaller than expected 0.1% month-on-month in June as the ongoing cost of living crisis hurt consumer confidence. Sales of food and drink rose 3.1%, but that was boosted by the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. However, the most significant declines were seen in clothing and auto fuel, which declined 4.7% and 4.3% respectively. July's heatwave could have prompted a rise in spending on summer clothing, fans, food and drink. The retail sales have only risen once this year and are expected to come in flat in July. So as a result, do keep an eye this week on the pound and the FTSE and of course general retailers. So those are the big stories of the week. Let's wrap up with a quick look at the dividend announcements due out this week. In the FTSE 100, we'll hear from Entain, M&G Holdings, Barclay Group, Prudential, Aviva, L&G, London Stock Exchange Group, HSBC, ICMA Pharmaceuticals, Anglo American, Imperial Brands and Pershing Holdings. And in the FTSE 250, Chemring Group, Bridgepoint, Ibstock, Rotork, Murray Income Trust, Just Group, UK Commercial Property Right, 4Imprint and last but not least, TI Fluid Systems. So there you have it, it's all about indicators this week, whether it's a peek into the minds of central bankers or retail figures from key sectors of the global economy, heralding which way things are heading. All I know is it's still costing me over £100 to fill the car, and that's one domestic indicator that hurts, and is in itself all the indicator I need. But not to worry, as always, we're here at Atlantic Capital Markets to guide you through life's economic trials and tribulations. So, as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to click on that subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss out on our regular financial updates with our expert market analysis and opinions. Also, if you haven't tried it already, why not download our app to your phone or tablet if you want to keep updated on the latest financial news, as well, of course, as our award-winning trading signals. So, until next time, from all of us here at Atlantic Capital Markets, have a great summer and have yourself a great week.